Welcome back to Let's Make a Game. In the last video, we looked at a simple system for keeping track of items. In this video, we're going to make it slightly more complex by adding a limit to how many items you can have at a time. So we have some sample code here, and as you can see on the left, it says that you're carrying a necklace of seashells, a strangely carved box, and a large rusted key. And it says the necklace is quite uncomfortable and you consider dropping it. Let's say we decide to keep it on. We then come to an ivory crown, apparently washed up on the beach, and we can choose to pick it up. Actually, that's our only choice. When we click on that, however, it says you can only carry 3 items at a time, which indeed we are already carrying. If we start again, let's say we decide this time to drop the necklace. Well, now we only have the other 2 items. And if we try to pick up the crown, it does actually get added to our inventory. So the code is obviously counting how many items we have and acting differently depending on whether we've reached the limit or not. So let's have a look at the code. As you can see, we have considerably more passages. Let's get into start. I've added more items into the item underscore name array so that we can demonstrate the new code. I have a new variable, item underscore max, set to 3. And that is the maximum number of items that you can have at a given time. We have item underscore present, which is the same as it was before. We start the game this time carrying some items, so we just set item underscore present slot 1, 2, and 3 to 1, and there's a little note saying that I'm using Z as a temporary variable. We go to necklace, and we have 2 buttons. One is keep it on, and that takes us to C crown, which is just this passage here, without doing anything else. This one also takes us to C crown, but there's some code within it, which is we set item underscore present slot 1 to 0. In other words, we no longer have item number 1, which is the necklace. And here we have the part of the game where we see the crown and we can try to pick it up. And that takes us to get crown. Now, at this point, before we go to get crown, I will show you what I've changed about story caption. So we had this SBA set to 0, and we went through all of the items, and if a given item was in the inventory, in other words, item underscore present, that relevant slot was equal to 1, what we did before is we would print the relevant item name and we would set SBA to 1. Well, in this case, instead of setting SBA to 1, we add 1 to its current value, which is what plus plus means. So this is now counting the number of items that the character has. And as before, if SBA is equal to 0, it's saying that you have no items. So on this get crown passage, what happens is, if SBA is less than item underscore max, which is the maximum number of items, then we set item underscore present 5 equal to 1. In other words, you pick up the crown. But if not, and the only other possibility is that it is equal to item max, meaning that you're carrying as many items as you can carry, well, then it gives you the message you can only carry item underscore max items at a time. And because we're printing the value of this variable rather than saying you can only carry 3 items at a time, we can change the maximum in here, and we don't then need to change it over there. So that is a simple system which keeps track of how many items you have at a time, and you can add in code to stop getting items above the maximum. But you might have a couple of objections to this. Firstly, you might say, well, all items aren't the same. I mean, I could be carrying gigantic statue and I could be carrying a small key, and they're each counted as one out of the 3 items that I could have. And that's not terribly realistic. Shouldn't there be some system where they have different weights, and perhaps there's a maximum weight that you can carry? And we're going to look in the next video at how we would do that. We'll also look at, instead of having this happen on the individual passages where you're trying to pick up an item, we'll probably have a single passage that deals with trying to get an item, so that we can use the same passage again and again rather than having to write out the same code every time we want to pick up an item. But I will leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.